You don't have to travel alone. Traveling is usually more fun, and now that I'm married, I could say always more fun when you're traveling with someone, because she'd be really, really pissed if I'm going cool places without her. And so you definitely want to bring anything, anyone you have with you. So if you have access to, if there's someone doing public relations or creative promoting the event, or any team member you have with you, you want to bring them along for the ride and try to make the experience as fulfilling as possible. You have to learn how to listen, and maybe this should even come earlier in the process here, but if you're up there in Canada, which I guess was the birthplace of event profs, as I just learned today, then maybe you'd go to a place that looks just like this, and you know that you can find some useful information there. When you're in social media, maybe it's not as pretty, but you're going to boards like that and say, oh, what are people saying, and is anyone calling me bad names on Twitter? Which also the danger is, you've seen some of these screens where people are just getting reamed as this is going on behind them. So thank you for not doing that, or for doing it so quickly that I missed it. But in social media, if you go, whether it's Twitter search or Facebook lexicon or YouTube Insights, and or just Google blog search or Google News alerts, they're great tools for actually listening, and it takes a little process of learning how to do so. And then ultimately, I remember the first time I went to London, when I was a kid, and even there with my parents, and just that whole perspective shift of nearly getting hit by a double-decker bus, and those taxis as I'm trying to cross the street and looking the totally wrong direction. I think that feeling happens a lot for marketers engaging in social media, where it's like, oh man, you don't know where these things are coming from, and you're just not used to how this stuff comes in every direction, directions that you didn't know that people could travel in. And so it's not just this dialogue, it's that these conversations are happening all over the place in a lot of messy ways, and that there are a lot of different ways to tap into that, whether you're involved or not. So finally, just what you're doing provide value. And there are a lot of kinds of value out there. So it could be utility. It could be something very functional, that this is something that's going to help you plan your event. It could be some kind of social currency. Foursquare does a great job at this, even though it's down this morning. But in getting you these badges for just checking into places. I mean, it's great social currency, and then you see everyone earning their douchebag badges, and so it's fantastic. And there could be entertainment, just kind of fun videos, conversation, as that was a huge part of the value of bringing everyone together today and for the months leading up to this. Product, there's nothing wrong with that as long as there's enough disclosure around it, but swag always goes over very well. And so there are a lot of ways to do that. One thing that Sprite did when they were connecting with Twitter moms is that they had access to MyCope rewards points, and so they reached out to moms and helped moms provide these mom earn points for their schools for back to school season. And this was really great because it wasn't just some kind of couponing strategy. It was really this was the kind of value that Sprite wanted to provide to these moms, and they did better than the benchmarks for Twitter moms for a lot of what they were doing. I think because it was very clear what the value proposition was, as well as tying this back into the arsenal that they had these rewards points to work with. Sometimes things don't always provide value, and this might be the one other case where I can really call someone out. But Pepperidge Farm wanted to get into social media, and so they built a social network that they knew moms liked social media and moms liked cookies. And so why not connect through cookies and have a whole social network around it? And you really can't make this stuff up. But it's I mean, there were New York Times reports about this, and how they were getting into this and all this stuff. And our friendships with our girlfriends make our lives so much richer. And eat a cookie. That's okay. That's not exactly what it says. You can't read the small print, but close enough. So sometimes you really have to okay, am I providing value here, or could we just set up some nutritional information on our site and have some fun apps and things where these moms already are, and, reaching out to them on their blogs and Facebook. This does add value to events here, and so this is actually a really fun event where at a business development institute event, a heckler was harassing someone from McDonald's, and she was fantastic about it, I gotta say. But it was this really immersive experience that was part of this, and pretty funny too. But this is also, this is helping get people more engaged. Social networks around events, personally, I've seen are a really mixed bag, because some, like South by Southwest. Is anyone going to this one this year? Nice. So I'll see some of you out there. I'm psyched. I booked my room in August, and so we'll have a little event props reunion out at maybe the Salt Lick or somewhere good downtown. We've got a real Texan here, so I'll defer to you on where we're going, but we will have some event props out in Texas next month. And so for this, it's great, because there are a lot of people who are trying to figure out who's there, who to get together with. It's a really amorphous event. You have people coming around from all around the world. For some, I've found when it's people who it's a smaller event, and there's all this stuff around scheduling and connecting with people who most people already know who's going to show up, and you could do it just as well in a Facebook group. Maybe you don't need a whole social network devoted to it. I think the more complicated ones are like that, and the more disparate ones are where it makes a lot of sense. So this I'd still say is a question mark. Cover it live, having tools to broadcast events. This is one I've used here and there, and I really have to come back to, because they do a nice job in allowing you to cover these events and update it live on your blogs, and so another way for those participating, whether live or even remotely, to share something. So this is just another part of the process. And then there are some things that just get a little bit weird. So React, you can actually create T-shirts with these codes to text in, and so there are all kinds of ways to get engaged in funky things with SMS and new media. And so these are just a few of them. These were examples from their site. I actually tried this at a 360i event a while back, and it wasn't meant to really add value, more to spark conversation. So I guess in that way it did. And so people who were already at this event were going on the after event cruise. It was a nice event too. But so there are some things that you could do for the sake of doing them, and you just got to understand what that value is. It is a conversation starter, or you're really trying to get people to do something. And so in review, it's really, does it meet goals? Does it use your arsenal? Does it follow the rules? And does it provide value? Just want to share a few broader trends for the year, and then welcome any Q&A, and so I'll be around for a while and welcome further discussion during breaks and at other times. I'm really looking forward to some of these other sessions too. But a few social trends that I think are relevant to event planners, as well as some others out there. Social going mobile. I mean, this is where so much of it's happening. Whether it's everyone who's just been tweeting and foursquaring and go walling from mobile devices to just using the mainstream social networks from the Blackberries and phones. There are mobile social networks that Moco Space has something like 15 million users, and yet barely anyone's heard of them. They're very targeted. They're especially big at urban audiences and big cities. But for people without smartphones and who are just on these feature phones, they've got tremendous penetration and should for some time. And then Foursquare's a big part of the value. I took a look at some of the numbers, and this is just Facebook. These are their various mobile apps, and I used allfacebook.com, which is really great for both statistics on applications and pages out there. I did try to share my sources where I remember to, but these are their 3 apps. Collectively, they still don't top Farmville, where you're sending each other bales of hay and everything. So all the mobile usage of Facebook combined does not rival Farm. But who can who can rival sending people chickens?